it's who you become in that process that is the special thing. Because the success is going to come and go, the money's going to come and go. Like all that stuff is just whatever. That stuff's meaningless at the end of the day. But who you become and the people you impact along the way is what matters the most.
Alex Erickson joins Wisco Legacy this week to talk about his path to the NFL. The former three-sport star athlete from Darlington, Wisconsin, nearly didn't make it to the NFL. Right after high school, he had originally committed to play basketball for UW-Stevens Point, a Division III powerhouse. Then, he got a preferred walk-on for the Wisconsin Badger football team. He decided to choose that. And with that one little decision changed the rest of his life. This is the Pride of Darlington with Alex Erickson.
Hi, I'm Alex Erickson, former Darlington Redbird, former Wisconsin Badger, and current Washington Commander wide receiver, and this is my Wisco Legacy.
Welcome to Wisco Legacy. I'm your host, Corey Kundert. I'm really excited today to have Alex Erickson. Alex is a former Darlington Redbird. He played football for the Wisconsin Badgers, and he's now with the Washington Commanders in the NFL. Alex, welcome to Wisco Legacy.
Hey, happy to be here, man.
Awesome. So I want to dive into your upbringing in Darlington. Can you talk about the community? I know it's a small community, about 2,400 people. You want to talk about your community there?
Yeah, Darlington, Wisconsin. It was great, man. I loved everything about it. Still have a close-knit group of high school buddies that we still hang out all the time. So it's something that really shaped me, molded me, work ethic, just doing the right things, respecting people. A lot of my core values are things that I was taught by my parents, obviously, but things that the whole community really embodied as a whole. And it's something that I would never change. Every town, city has its positive, negatives, but the positives outweigh the negatives, that's for sure. And it was awesome to grow up there and still spend a lot of time there. My mom and dad still live there, and the in-laws still live in Darlington. So it's still a community that's near and dear to our hearts, and we try to pour back into the youth, pour back into the people there as much as we can, and really just show the support we have for them, because that's all they've done for me is supported me, and really just been a support system like no other.
Yeah, when I think of Wisconsin, Darlington's a town that I think embodies a lot of what Wisconsin is like. You have really great support for the schools and the athletics. There's a dirt track for racing in the town.
Yeah, not at all.
You got it all in Darlington. So you're a multi-sport athlete. You want to talk about the sports you were involved in as a kid and how that helped you as an athlete?
Yeah, I mostly played basketball in the winters, obviously football in the falls. Then I ran track, played baseball growing up, got involved with golf, just my dad, my brothers, and really just love sports in general. Obviously there's only so much time, so you got to kind of pick your sports, but I always liked the label as an athlete, not just a football player, a basketball player, just a track athlete, just an athlete in general. Just being able to pick up a tennis racket or a golf ball or a ping pong tape or ping pong paddle and just being able to play. And I think, when you're able to do that, it allows you to be well-rounded. And I know it's helped me on the football field tremendously. Especially when you're doing like special teams and stuff that's a different aspect of the game, and you got to be able to adapt and learn and use different movements. And so I just love playing sports. So I just played as much as I could, and obviously being a smaller community, there's not a ton to do. So sports was my entertainment, it's where I felt comfortable, and my friends and my brothers were all involved in sports. So that's what we did, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah, you see a lot of multi-sport athletes in small communities, and it's crucial to the success of the school and their athletics there. And to me personally, I was a three-sport athlete too, and I feel like like you said, it makes you more of a well-rounded athlete. You can take things you learn from one sport and it helps you in the others. So
Absolutely.
that's great to hear. Um, you were a highly prolific quarterback in high school. You ran, I think, for more yards than you threw in high school. You were a great basketball player too. Can you talk about your path to the Wisconsin Badger football team? It wasn't a linear path.
No.
You almost took a different direction. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I obviously being from a small town, you don't always get recruited. I think it's getting better now with the ability to send film and a lot more camps and a lot more access and stuff like that. But yeah, so I loved basketball. Basketball was kind of my first love. That was a sport I played the most growing up, and football was just something I liked a lot, and just happened to be pretty good at it too. So I think it um, kind of just happened naturally. And um, but if it was, when I got done with high school, obviously, yeah, I had the accolades, all that stuff. Was getting recruited by some smaller schools, and didn't really want to go play football for WEAC or even one of the Division twos in Minnesota. It just wasn't something that was really appealing to me for whatever reason. They're obviously great programs and all that, but if I was going to go and do something and really just make the most of it and enjoy it, I was going to play basketball. So I did commit to the UW Stevens Point, and then somehow kind of got a preferred walk-on acceptance into UW, but I was gonna have to wait for another semester, so I couldn't join right away. So basically, went and was just a normal student for a semester. Had a broken wrist anyway, so it wouldn't really matter. But um, yeah, so that's kind of how that all transformed into going from, well, I'm going to go play basketball at Stevens Point to nope, going to walk on at the University of Wisconsin. And that's a place where, I get asked that question a lot. It's like, why did you decide to do? For me, it was, I wasn't worried about not making it or failing or any of that stuff. Like, none of that mattered to me. It was just an opportunity. That's all I wanted, was an opportunity. And if I went there and it didn't work out, I would have had no regrets. Because I know I was going to try my hardest, and if I wasn't good enough, I wasn't good enough. That's just the way it was. Because I could always go play basketball somewhere if I wanted to. Um, so yeah, I was like, this is something I've always dreamed of as a kid, having that Motion W helmet on and just playing at Camp Randall and for the home team. Like, that was just something that, you're out in the front yard, playing catch. Like, you're kind of dreaming about this stuff as a kid. And you don't even realize it can become a reality. And so that's all I was doing. I was just trying to trace my dreams and go after something. And who cares if it doesn't work out? Who cares if you fail? We worry about that a lot now. And it's just like, I didn't care. I'm going to go do it. And whatever happens, happens. I'm going to have no regrets when it's all said and done.
Yeah, that's awesome to be able to take that leap. And I'm sure playing basketball at Stevens Point probably felt a little bit more secure than being a preferred
And
walk
the
on
thing
Badger.
was, Stevens Point, which would have been my senior year at Stevens Point, they won a national championship that
Wow.
year.
Huh.
Because I knew a lot of the guys I was going to play with. I played a lot of AU with those guys, and as you know, like those WEACs, those school, that's a tough league, and that's a
Mhm.
tough. People think like going to D3s, like a downgrade, but that league is competitive, and that's great basketball. And a lot of those guys could go play at a higher levels if given the opportunity. But yeah, they won a national championship that year. Not saying that we would have. If I was on the team, that was just pretty cool that they won a national
Mhm.
championship that year too.
Yeah. You ever reflect back on, wondering what if you wouldn't have came to Wisconsin and pursued that basketball?
Yeah, I don't know what happened, man. I don't know where I'd be right now. I wouldn't be sitting in Washington D.C. Right now, but yeah, it's just cool how the journey all works itself out, and kind of just taking leaps of faith and uh, just just following your dreams, man. It
Mhm.
sounds corny and cliche, but just can't give up and just keep trying, and good things will happen. Whether it goes the way you want it to or not, something good will come from it.
Absolutely. So now let's talk about Badger football. So in high school, you were a quarterback,
Yep.
and for Wisconsin, you're obviously a wide receiver. Can you talk about the transition in that and some of the nuances you had to learn for the position?
Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to play quarterback, um, just just based on a lot of things. But I just wasn't gonna. I wasn't good enough at quarterback, just as a pure passer, to play in that style of offense. So I knew I had to make a transition, and kind of going back to the athlete thing, being able to do multiple things and play multiple positions and multiple sports, like it gives you the ability to adapt and change and figure something out. And so I got there. I was like, well, I can play defense, I can play safety, or I can play wide receiver. And I didn't really want to tackle people all the time, so I was like, receivers got to be my move. Um, so I got to play receiver, and it was good because when I got there, I played a little bit of receiver in high school. Just we played. You're doing like one-on-ones and stuff. You'd go do receiver stuff versus DBs and vice versa. Excuse me. And then so when I got there, I was pretty raw in terms of what I know about the position, and so I was like, man, I just gonna jump in here and just learn, and I got there like Jared Abderus was the guy at the time. I didn't have, and I kind of say this to people. I was like, I didn't. It was good because I didn't have any bad habits because I didn't have any habits at all. So when I got there, I was learning from obviously great coaches, and learning how to play the position the right way with a correct technique. And so I was able to pick up the position pretty quick. And when I got there, I was basically just on the look team, scout team stuff my first year. And then the second year, we had some injuries in spring ball, and I really started getting opportunities and really started making plays and really started gaining confidence in that. And it really propelled me into the season. And I was able to eventually earn a starting spot at the slot, the number 3 spot by the end of the year, my second year there. And how that all worked was pretty cool because I didn't know if I was good enough to play there. Like I had confidence in myself and belief in myself, and like knew I was a good player, but I didn't know if I was good enough to play at Division I Wisconsin Big Ten level. And so when I started making some plays and getting some recognition, it was kind of just like that snowball effect of like keep going, keep going, keep going. And I really just became confident in that role, and it allowed me to play at a high level. And that's what's special about Wisconsin. They don't care if you're a walk-on or scholarship. Like you're getting an opportunity if you come in there, work hard, do things the right way. Smart, tough, dependable people. That's what they want. And if you can do that, and I was able to do that and earn myself a scholarship after my second year and starting spot, and all this stuff kind of happened really quick. And I it happened so fast I didn't really have time to realize how special it was until you kind of look back on the journey. But it was a pretty cool experience, and I loved still go back there and work out and train. And Coach Chris was there my last year, so still got connection with him, and it's just fun to be around the program still, and just see former players that you played with, and seeing the guys now, and just that legacy of Wisconsin's football, and that brotherhood that you have for life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, confidence is crucial for any job
Yeah.
or anything in life. I mean, I've noticed that in myself. Once I become confident, I feel like things improve. It's awesome
Mhm.
to see that translate to the football field for you. And what was the experience like of running onto Camp Randall for the very first time?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the more memorable things. I think the intro song, and then you see it all the time. But it's just one of those things that gives you the chills. Even to now, if I go back to a game and you're on the field, and like you kind of just put yourself back into the shoes, and you're like, man, that was pretty special. And it's hard to your adrenaline's going so much when you're a player, and it's hard to really enjoy it because you're so focused on what you got to do and kind of the anxiety of the game and the nerves of the game kind of trump, just like sitting back and enjoying everything because you're like ultra focused. But yeah, it was pretty cool experience running out there and hearing 80 some thousand people screaming and yelling. And so yeah, it's a pretty cool environment, as you know.
Do you want to talk about some of the memorable moments you had with the Wisconsin jersey on?
Yeah, there were some good ones. I always say the best stuff was just like in the locker room, hanging with the guys and those relationships that you form. And that's what's unique about college compared to the NFL is you come in with 25 guys in a class ish, um, and you're there with most of them. Not all of them last, but you're there with most of them for whatever reason for 4 years, 5 years, and so you really form a bond. Whereas the NFL, guys are coming and going every year and you're on different teams and it kind of becomes a messy business, but that's what's special about college. You're living with these guys, you're hanging out with these guys. You don't have families to go home to right away, so what do? You go hang out with the guys, so you're with these guys all the time. So those are some of the best moments, but actually on the like personally and then as a team, I think personally, like when I earned my scholarship, that was a pretty cool moment. We were in the team meeting, and Coach Anderson at the time, came up and then announced that I was going to be awarded a scholarship, and everyone goes crazy for you, and it's just a pretty surreal moment because you realize how much support you have and how much guys believe in you and how much love there really is, on a team. And so that was a pretty cool moment. I think one of the other really special moments was we didn't win a bowl game for we lost those 3 Rose Bowls in a row. And then we didn't win a game, our bowl game, for like 4 years or something, some crazy stat. And then Coach Alvarez came back and coached us in one of the bowl games. And, I think it was the Outback Bowl. We won it, a game-winning field goal versus Auburn. And Albie was, our coach. And so that was a pretty cool moment. And it was a pretty cool moment, too, because I basically got to play for every coach in the last. I played for we had Alvarez for 2 games. He came back after Bielema left, and then he came back again after Anderson left. So I had Bielema for a year, had Anderson for 2, had Alvarez for 2 games, and then I had Coach Chris. So I basically had all those coaches, every coach we've had in the last 30 years.
Wow.
But that was the winning the bowl game was a really special moment as a team, just because it was kind of that getting that monkey off our back. I know it was just the Outback Bowl, but all those bowls are competitive, and obviously when you're playing like Auburn and SEC teams, it's always special. But that was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah. Can you talk about the transition for those coaches? That has to be in the locker room. That has to be interesting to go through all those transitions. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I think it's worse now with the transfer portal and all that stuff. Guys can really jump ship without having to sit out and stuff. Whereas when we were in there, you had to sit out a year, so you really didn't want to leave. But we knew, as players, we knew the stability of the program, and that kind of trumped whatever was happening with the coaching staff because Albert was still there, so we knew that there was going to be a good coach that comes in. It wasn't like we had, we came off of three Rose Bowls and all that stuff, so it wasn't like the next coach is coming into a rebuild. And then even with Coach Anderson, I think we won 9 or 10 games the year he left too. So it's like we're a good team. I don't know why we have new coaches coming in. Like we have a good team. We've won a ton of games. So it was kind of weird in that aspect. But it was really just, got a new coach. You got to re-earn your stripes. You got to impress the new coach. You got to show what you can do in front of the new coach. So it really kept you. You really had to keep improving every year. You couldn't get complacent because, there's a new agenda, a new set of eyes watching you, and new guys making decisions. So it was something that really forced you to keep playing your best football every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. Were there some players or coaches you had really great bonds with or really impacted you in your career?
Yeah, I think all my receiver coaches were great. My freshman year was Coach Azani. He's with the Denver Broncos now. And then The next year was Coach Beatty. He's with the Chargers. Um, and then I had Ted Gilmore my last year, and he's with Michigan State now. Just three great, very different styles. Coach Azani was very lot of energy, running around. You know, hooping and hollering a lot and stuff like that. And then Coach Beatty was more laid back, let you play your style. And then Gilmore was kind of a mix between both, still more laid back. Yeah, those guys really had an impact on me as a player, and uh, guys that really helped me become the receiver that I am today, which is a testament to their coaching ability and just the relationship we formed off the field as well.
So you transitioned to the NFL. That's a huge transition in life. Can you talk about preparing for the draft and then going undrafted and that whole process that you went through and kind of where
The
your
longest
head
day of
was at?
my life. Yeah, it was the longest day of my life watching all 7 rounds and not hearing your name called, which sucked at the time because that would just be cool to get your name called and just being drafted, right? You just want to be drafted. But in reality, if you're going to be a 6 or 7 round pick, you got just as good chances to be an undrafted guy, I would say, especially 7th round. Uh, and the luxury you have as undrafted, you kind of can find the best fit schematically and how the roster shapes up after the draft. Um, so that was a benefit for us, um, and when I say us, I mean my agent, my wife, and the people that we were making decisions. And so we chose Cincinnati. It kind of came down to Cincinnati, Minnesota, and Baltimore Ravens, and we went with Cincinnati because we went on a visit to Cincinnati, and then we went on a visit to Minnesota. So I had a relationship with the coaching staffs and talked to them, and it was really just the wide receiver coach in Cincinnati at the time, Coach Urban. I had a good relationship with him, and the way he talked about my game is the way I would talk about my game. So he saw my game as I saw my game, and that was important to me because you want a staff that knows your strengths and is going to put you in position to play your best football and have success. And that was what I was able to do in Cincinnati, and yeah, I was able to I was there for 5 years. It was a great experience. I love Cincinnati, and um, that's kind of how the punt return, kickoff return stuff came in. As you know, they only keep 5 or 6 receivers, and if you're not playing special teams, you're probably it hurts your chances at making the roster, but also playing on Sundays. And so it was basically a battle between me and the returner that they had there for some time. I didn't have a ton of return experience, didn't do any kickoff returns in college, and then uh, did a little bit of punt return in my senior year. So it was a niche that I had to figure out quickly, and I had once again, I think the coaching aspect that I've had throughout the experiences has been instrumental to my success and allowed me to play at a high level. And really just taking those coaching points and applying them on the field. And Coach Simmons in Cincinnati is a great special teams coach and a guy that really pushed me. He's a hard guy to play for. He really pushes you, but he sees the best in you, and you try to get that out. So it was something that really helped me become the returner I am.
Yeah, we'll talk about your return, your first preseason in
Yeah.
Cincinnati in a minute here. But so I had Jonathan Orr on, former Badger wide receiver, a while back,
Yep.
one of my earlier episodes, and he runs a company called Athlete Transition Services, and he helps athletes transition out of sports and in transition in different ways of life. And he talked about the struggle and the challenge it was to transition from a college athlete to a professional athlete. What was that transition like for you?
Yeah, it was difficult because you had school and you had all this stuff and you had all these tutors and all this stuff that was uh, right there for you. And now you're in the NFL. Well, I don't have school anymore. You're getting paid to do this. You gotta, it's basically a normal hour job. So you get home and you're like, well, you gotta study, you gotta take care of your body, you gotta prepare still, and Um, luckily I was around some veterans that I could watch them and see their examples and um, really just see the importance of taking care of yourself physically. And I think that's something that you learn over time because when you're young and you come in as a rookie, like your body feels great. You haven't been playing a ton. The college game, you only play 12 games a year. Now we're playing, 16 at the time plus 4 preseason games. So you're basically playing 2 seasons of college and one NFL season. And so it's just a matter of learn how to be a pro, taking care of yourself, studying, like I said, preparing, and really just maximizing the resources you have to, play as long as you can. But at the time, you're just like, well, I just got to make it this week and make it next week.
Mm-hmm.
And because as we know, it's basically a week to week business. They can cut you anytime. Um, that's the nature of the beast. But yeah, man, it was just, I think it was the same things I did in college. Came in there, just put my head down, took the coaching, obviously understood what to do, and just played ball.
Mm-hmm. And being an undrafted free agent, that's got to be pretty stressful. You said that they only keep 5 or 6 wide receivers on the roster, so finding your niche was definitely helpful. So, can you talk about getting into the return game? And you had a breakout preseason game that I think was probably a pretty big turning point in your career.
Yeah, it was. Looking back, that was the moment that kind of really sprung me into. I still had to do it again and again, but it was the moment that led to all those opportunities, um, and what really led to it was, so I wasn't even really on the depth chart to be a returner, and so they would go out and catch punts before practice and stuff off the jugs, and I would always just go out there and catch them. So Coach Simmons knew I could catch the punts, and so they had a guy. Well, they had 2 guys at the time that were kind of dual doing it, and they had a young guy that was a really explosive guy and really quick and fast and all that, and he was the guy they're trying to get to really be that role, and he got hurt in the third quarter or something. I was playing a lot of offensive receiver, um, but he got hurt, and so then it was like the fourth quarter. Darren's like, "Hey, go in there, return the punt." So I go in there, like, "All right, let's go." And the dude from Minnesota bombs me one, hits me like probably 65, 70 yarder, just a bomb of a punt. And I kind of catch it like over my shoulder. Not how you're supposed to do it, but whatever. I was just playing ball and catch it, get vertical, kind of like bounce off a couple tackles. I'm like, oh crap, I'm still on my feet. Get to the sideline and go up and score. I think like a 70 yarder on my first ever punt return in the NFL. And it was a pretty surreal moment because I had a touchdown catch earlier in the game, and so it was kind of just happening so fast, and I didn't even know what was going on. Just preseason game one, just had won an opportunity and really made the most of it, and that kind of led to week two, and it's the same thing. I was the third or fourth guy, so I got into the fourth quarter, boom, returned like another 30 yarder. Really should have been another touchdown. And then so week three is kind of like the dress rehearsal for the season, and uh, Darren's like, "You're going to start as a part turner." I was okay, and I was nervous as crap. First ever start, really, and it was kind of this was my moment right here. I got to prove that I can do it versus their guys with some pressure on me to perform, and I just had it rolling, and got another one up the sideline, had a couple good returns, made some good decisions, and um, that whole experience of and then going in the last preseason game, they released the guy that I was kind of competing with, so he could have another shot at another roster. Um, and then Coach Marvin Lewis at the time called me and told me I made the team, and um, it was a cool moment. It was the dream was becoming a reality, and it didn't really settle in until week one, but it was something that when you're just focused on making the team, like that's the goal, All right, how do I do that? Just the day to day, the process of it all. Like, don't worry about making the team. Like, what's going to allow you to make the team is doing things day by day, the process of going out and executing your job, and then the results of making the team that takes care of itself. And so that's really just what I did, and it was a pretty cool moment. And then kind of didn't really do the kickoff return stuff till probably like week 2 or 3 in the season. We got when coach got a little more comfortable with me and a little more trust in me. That was pretty cool. We played in MetLife Stadium in New York City. By week 1, 9/11 game was on 9/11, so it was pretty cool. Um, you know, it was a cool moment.
Talk about that phone call from Marvin Lewis and
Yeah.
making the team. What was that? What was going through your head when you got that phone call?
Yeah, so the way it worked, it was kind of like, we played on Thursday night, last preseason game, and then it was kind of you come in Friday and just because you can, kind of just hang it, work out, watch the film, whatever, and then you got the weekend off, and then you come back in. It's different now, but then you come back in on Monday and you're hitting the ground running for week 1. And so I left the stadium Friday. Like they said, leave your phones on. We'll call you over the next couple of days. If you got to come in, if we're releasing you and stuff like that. And so I knew I had a good shot of, like, I was pretty sure that at worst case I was going to make the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a good feeling I was going to make the roster because they released the returner that I was competing with already. So it was kind of, and some of the coaches were, my wide receiver coach and stuff like that. Like, they don't say it outright because there's decisions that can get made with, that are above all of our decision making. Coach Lewis, I remember exactly where I was. I was driving across the bridge in Cincinnati, going over to Kentucky, where the team hotel was, and he called me and said, "Hey, you made the team. I don't want you to have to, go. You can go celebrate with your family and all that stuff." And I had family in town, and my wife now, she was my girlfriend at the time. She was there, and my mom and dad, and one of my good friends was there, and so it was pretty cool making that phone call to them and said, "Hey, I made the team," and it's just that's where the journey all began.
That's awesome. You had a 5-year run in Cincinnati. You want
Yep.
to talk about your experience there? I think you and Andy Dalton were pretty close and
Yep.
had some really great experiences as a Bengal.
Yeah, it was yeah, Cincinnati. We really fell in love with Cincinnati. It's where we got engaged, and my wife and I got engaged, and really just made it our second home, really. And it was, Cincinnati's a cool place. If you ever get down there, it's a Midwestern town. Like, it's right on the river of northern Kentucky, and the Ohio River there splits kind of between northern Kentucky and Cincinnati. And so, yeah, I really love Cincinnati. It was a great time there. And, I just, that's where I made a lot of memories and really began my career and really established my career. And, it's led me to some other places too, but that's just the nature of the business. And, but yeah, I really loved my time in Cincinnati.
Yeah, you were primarily a return man, but you did get on the field as a receiver. Can you talk about some of the experiences you had as a receiver in the NFL?
Yeah, well, I came in with Tyler Boyd, so we kind of played the same position. And, he's really become a premier slot receiver, so I was always kind of behind him. I got quite a bit of playing time in 2019 when we had some injuries and stuff, and had a nice year. Yeah, I was kind of just the fourth, fifth receiver, and kind of made that my role. And um, it's just like any job, any business, you just gotta own your role, and really just, obviously we all want to play more. We all want to be the starter and all that stuff. And there's games where I was able to start just based on the way things worked out. Um, and then you got to come in, you got to execute, and then the next week the guy's back, so you're back to a backup role, even though you had a good game. Like, that's just the way it works sometimes. And so it was always just being ready to go, being ready to play, knowing multiple spots, so I could play the X, I could play the Z, I could play the slot as the F, and really just being multiple, and getting my package of plays that I had a lot of weeks. And whether it was 10 plays, whether it was 15, whether it was two, whatever it may be, like going in and just executing that. And um, that's what I always try to tell young guys too. Is just like it's a week to week league. You could be not playing any snaps, inactive this week, and then next week you're starting. So that's just the way the gig is, and you got to be ready for it. And the only way to do that is prepare and just be ready and confident when your time comes.
Mm-hmm. So after 5 years, you ended up going to the Texans for
Yep.
a little bit. You talked about your experience going there, and then you spent some time in Carolina too.
Yeah. So what we were trying to do is get an opportunity to play more receiver. That's what we wanted. Um, primarily did the return stuff. Played some receiver, like we said, in Cincinnati. But I wanted a chance at being a starting slot receiver, and so I went down to Houston. Long story short, just didn't work out. Just for whatever reason, just didn't work out. Um, so then I got released by Houston, and then I got picked up by Carolina, and got with them week one or right after the preseason last year, and played in every game last year with Carolina, and had a good experience down there, and just just it was good. It was a tough year. It was a challenging year for me. Um, just kind of it was kind of the real first adversity that I've not the first adversity, but the most adversity I've faced in one time in the NFL by being his first time I ever got cut, which is a crappy experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my family's down in Houston. We were all down in Houston. Like that was our spot. Um, and well, we're moving. We got to get out of here. So it was tough. It was just tough because it's always hard on, and we had really close friends down there that my wife and one of my teammates, Jeff Driscoll and his wife, they're like best friends. And so it was tough to like, we had a community there that we were going to be a part of. And just to pick up and move, it's just hard. It's just hard on everybody, but we know it's part of the business. We know what we signed up for. So off we went to Carolina.
Yeah, and you spent all of last year there, and then you didn't have a contract for this off season. You
Yeah.
didn't have you were kind of in the free agency for that, which probably had some anxiety and some things like that. Can you talk about this off season? The work you put in and kind of navigating free agency.
Yeah, free agency. We didn't know what was going to happen in free agency, as we never do. But as things kind of went on, you know, it was looking like it was going to be after the draft, which it was. But um, just because teams, make their draft picks, and especially the spot I'm in, the kind of returner, you know, backup receiver type thing right now. Um, those spots can get filled in the draft. So it's like you got to wait till the rosters get defined and all that stuff, and then um, you kind of find your spot. And Washington was a team that we talked to last year in free agency, and then we've been talking to them this year in free agency. Um, and yeah, so I'm really excited to be here. It's Coach Rivera and his staff are very pro like staff, and treat you like professionals, and um, you know come in and work and do your job type mentality. And but no, I think the team's really improved last year, got hot at the end of the year, and yeah, so I'm really excited to be a part of the organization.
That's great. Looking forward to you being part of their organization. And um, one question I'm really curious about is, you grew up in a small town of 2,400 people. Now you've navigated the NFL. I think this is year 7 for you.
Yeah.
You've been in the spotlight for a very long time. What's that like to be in the spotlight? You have social media posts saying, "Hey, Alex Erickson signed with the Commanders." Do you pay attention to that stuff? Like, what's that mentality like around that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge social media guy. I follow it, I see it, but I'm not huge on social media, so I don't do a ton of interacting on my platforms and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I see it, and I don't know, the support I have is pretty cool, from especially just the Wisconsin itself, but the Southwest corner especially, and Um, so that's been the best part, I think, of all of it, is being able to just share that journey with, um, with the community, and my family, and as you know, everyone knows everybody type thing. So just being able to share that experience, and um, it's been pretty cool.
That's awesome. So let's go beyond the life of football for you.
Yeah.
You have this is kind of football related, but you have the Erickson Foundation. Can you
Mhm.
talk about what you're doing with that? And I know there's a summer camp coming up here soon.
Yeah, we got the summer camp in June here. Be our 5th year doing it. Um, couldn't do it with COVID the one year, and so that's kind of our last year. But yeah, it's been the Erickson Foundation was something my wife and I. Well, we had so many people like would ask us, "Hey, can you sign this? Can we do that? Like, can you come speak at this and all that stuff?" And it's just like they would like, "Hey, can we pay you for it?" And I was like, "I really don't want to be paid for this. Like I just I just know the people that poured into my life. Like I wanted to be able to do that and not be like always here because he's paid. Like whatever for
Hmm.
whatever reason. I just didn't want to get paid for it. And so they're like, well, can we donate to something? And I was like, I mean, just alone on that, you could do something with the money people are giving you for signing stuff for them for their family or whatever. And so that was kind of what sparked us. And then we're like, well, we do a lot of stuff with the Hodan Center in Mineral Point. We had that like the special needs, the youth, like that was really where our attention wanted to be. So we decided to start the Erickson Foundation with the emphasis being on the youth and people with special needs. So that's kind of what we do. We do a scholarship at Darlington every year, and then we just do various things for people that need help, whatever it may be, and with our focus on and not just special needs in the youth, but I mean, we help other areas, but that's kind of where our focus is at, and that's where we really want to make an impact and just try to maximize this platform that we have, and really just give back and do something that's bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, giving back to the community in the area that helped build you into who you are. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly.
Yeah. So you're also part of the Walk On Bar and Grill. Let's hear
Oh,
this story.
yeah. So the Walk On Bar and Grill, that's it's in Mount Horeb. If anybody is listening and wants to go check it out, it's on Main Street there. Yeah, so long story short, a guy that helped me run my football camp, um, one of his buddies, he's from Darlington as well, and he was like, "Hey, um, I'm gonna buy this bar in Mount Horeb." I was like, "Dude, you should call it the Walk On." Like me and one of my buddies, like we always joked about, "Oh, we're gonna open a bar." So my buddy's still a little mad that I, partnered with someone else on this, but uh, he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "You should call it the Walk On." Like being in Wisconsin, he's like, "Oh, it's a great idea." So then fast forward a year, he calls me. He's like, "Hey, I love that name and that brand, but I don't want to do it without you. Would you like to be a part of it?" I said, "Yeah." And so we were able to figure out a deal that worked for both of us. Um, and so it's him and his brother and his sister, and then myself. We're kind of the four partners, and my wife. So we're the four partners. And yeah, that's how it came about. And he ran it as it was, and then we rebranded it and remodeled it, and it's a cool spot. They got they put a bar upstairs and really cleaned it up, and it's a cool spot. It's something that, and we tied in the walk on. Obviously, everyone knows the walk on tradition in Wisconsin, and so we got a board up there that has all the walk on names that have made to the NFL, and a couple local names that. Uh, we had to put up on the wall. So that's kind of it's sports bar, and it's cool. It's a cool
Yeah.
experience. It's cool to
Yeah.
be a part of, and we have a lot of fun with it. And um, Mark and his family, they're awesome to be in business with. So it's cool.
That's cool. I haven't been there yet, but I'm definitely gonna add it to the list and
Yeah, man.
head over there. That's cool. All right. Anything else you want to talk about as far as your football career? Or anything outside of football? I know family is really important to you. Anything you
Yeah,
want to add in there as well?
yeah. So I got two kids. Been married. My wife Kelsey will be married 5 years now in July. Um, Yeah, Owen, he's 3, and then Harper, she's 2, and then we got baby number 3 due in September. So we'll have to navigate the baby with the season. Uh, that'll be interesting, to say the least. We'll see how
Yeah.
it goes. I feel for my wife in those moments because that's one of the biggest challenges. It's a lot of burden, especially with kids. Like, so you're gone. I mean, I'm gone every weekend. You're gone most of the time of the day. Especially like last year in Carolina, like we got there week 1, so it wasn't like we were plugged into a community. So it's like she's trying to make friends while she got 2 kids, so you can only do so much, and so it really puts a lot of stress on her because she's just spending all day with the kids, and which is great, and she loves it, but also too you got to have your own thing that you're doing.
Hmm.
So that was one of our bigger challenges last year, and um, I know it puts a lot of stress on her and stuff like that, but we're excited for baby number 3, and yeah, being a dad's better than all this football stuff and whatever else. There's nothing like it, and I enjoy every second of it, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. That's awesome. All right, so I got 3 rapid fire questions and 2 more questions to wrap us up here quick.
Yeah.
So, um, I might know the answer to this, but I think I'm going to exclude this. So, first question is, what's your favorite restaurant in Wisconsin that's not the Walkout Bar and Grill?
My favorite restaurant in Wisconsin. Um, well, that's a good one. I love Dottie's
Mm-hmm.
downtown. Great burgers, cool
Yep.
place. So Dottie dumplings.
Awesome. What's your favorite event in Wisconsin?
I like. Gosh, there's so many things. I want to say just like chilling on a lake, but I'm thinking of an event. Um, I like to. We like doing like the farmers market. That's cool.
Mhm.
Every week, go on the farm. We don't go a ton, but when we do, it's a cool experience.
Yeah. And last rapid fire one, where's your favorite place to hang out in Wisconsin?
My favorite place to hang out, um, Fayette, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
It's where I grew up. We love it down there. Good old. It's just outside of Darlington, based between Argyle and Darlington. Fayette,
Nice.
Wisconsin, baby.
Nice. Shout
Shout
out.
out to
All right.
Fayette.
Oh yeah. 2 final questions here for you. A little bit more thinking maybe around these 2. How has Wisconsin helped shape you into who you are today?
Yeah, I think when I think of Wisconsin, right, I think of blue collar, hardworking, just good old people, right? And um, so I think the work ethic is something that I really hung my hat on everywhere I've been, you know, and just doing things the right way. Those are 2 things that I think Wisconsin embodies, and 2 things that I've tried to embody in my career and have allowed me to have some success.
Awesome. All right, last question here for you. When all is said and done, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
It's a great question. Challenging one because there's a lot of ways you could go. Um, but for me, I think I'm sure when we get off this, I'll think of something better than this. But uh, just thinking, the first thing that really comes to my mind is like um, someone that has done it the right way. Um, you know, earned everything he's gotten, and um, just really pursued his dreams no matter what the obstacles were. Um, so yeah, I don't know how to summarize all that, but yeah, just someone that does things the right way. Um, really just chased my dreams and really went after it, and because I think there's something everyone can learn from that, right? We all have our challenges in life. We all have our difficulties and things that we think are um, gonna hinder us in success, and we worry about that, and rather than just going for it. And um, I think something about that boldness of just going for it allows us to just reach marks that we didn't think we could reach. And so I think that's something that I always try to share with when I speak at schools. Just go after your dreams, right? There's going to be tons of people telling you can't do this, you can't do that. And most of the time, they're people that have never tried to do anything themselves. And so just go for it. And if you fail and they say, oh, I told you, you know what? So what? Something came from that, and you became a better man, a better person of it. And, you know, it's who you become in that process that is the special thing. Because the success is going to come and go. The money's going to come and go. Like all that stuff is just whatever. That stuff's meaningless at the end of the day. But who you become and the people you impact along the way is what matters the most. And I try to do that just by working hard and doing things the right way, and just that boldness of stepping out and taking a chance.
That's all. That's really great advice. And, just having this conversation with you, you're definitely living out those values that you have in you. And I just really appreciate that advice, and wish you all the best in life.
Yeah. Thanks, Corey. I appreciate you having me on, and the Wisco Legacy. I love I love what you're doing here, and if you need everything else, man, let me know.
Awesome. Well, with that, we think we can wrap up this episode of Wisco Legacy. What an incredible journey Alex Erickson's been on. From small town USA to now in Washington, D.C., living out his childhood dream of playing in the NFL. Big props to you, Alex, for persevering through everything you've been through to get to where you are. If you're local to the Darlington area, he does have a football camp over there in June, so go check that out. You can follow him out on social media. And if you like this podcast, check out our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn pages for more information. We also have a website, wiscolegacy.com. We post some things out there as well. So go check us out there. And if you really enjoy this podcast, please rate and review the podcast out on Apple Podcasts. That would mean the world to me. So with that, appreciate everybody listening in to episode 29 of Wisco Legacy with Alex Erickson.